In the morning sun where the flowers bloom, colors burst like a painter's dream come true. Roses red and violets blue, every petal whispers something new. From tiny seeds to trees so grand, every leaf and bird, it's all at hand. Hello, hello plant, welcome to the show.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to our live Q&A. If you're new here, we do this every Monday. If you're returning, welcome back. So it's very simple how this works. Basically, you come with your plant problems and questions, and Chris comes with all the answers. So all you need to do, if you have anything that you're struggling with, any issues, anything that you're curious about, doesn't even have to be a problem. It can just be something you want to learn more about, that you want tips about. All you have to do is just comment it below, and then I'm going to read it out to Chris, and then Chris is going to answer your question. So works pretty easily. And yeah, we do these every Monday. Whatever platform you're on right now will be the platform we are on also next week. We do it at the same time. And yeah, it's just a good time all around pretty much. How are you doing today, Chris?
Great, and I'm looking forward to the challenge of 50 difficult questions.
Exactly.
How long are we going for today?
We're going to go for 45 minutes today. So normally we do 30 minutes, but we find that we just can't get to all the questions that we want to, just because there's so many of you guys that need some help. So we're extending it out a little bit now to 45 minutes, just so we can help more of you guys. And yeah, just make everyone have a really beautiful garden. If you could, please let us know if you can hear us all right. Just like give us a little thumbs up, or just say that the sound is sounding good. That would be great, just so that we know that you can hear us, because obviously that is very important. Perfect. All right, so we are going to start off with the first question from Bianca. She says, what is a good plant to accompany wisteria?
Interesting question. Say you're planting under wisteria. I saw a beautiful planting in Shepparton, and they planted the plum gorgeous loropetalum as a hedge underneath wisterias that were growing on a sort of a large framework. And I think something evergreen like your plum gorgeous, coloured foliage all year round, and I thought that just looked wonderful. So it was the beautiful purple foliage, pink flowers in springtime. At the same time, the beautiful little pink flowers on the plum gorgeous occur exactly the same time as your cascading blue or white wisteria flowers. So I think that's a wonderful combination. Nice.
All right, moving on to the next question from Lexi. What's the best for a balcony with full sun in the morning?
Right, full morning sun. Really, that with full morning sun in the morning, that's the gentlest sun of the day. You could even have a beautiful hydrangea in a pot, as long as it was really well watered. If you had a hydrangea in a pot, you'd keep it in a saucer of water. But you know, a weeping Japanese maple, any of your softer plants are going to do really, really well with just full morning sun and afternoon shade. So I think something like a hydrangea, something like a Japanese maple, perhaps even a gardenia is really, really nice in a spot like that. And what's a great idea, you know, like with things drying out so quickly in this warmer weather, is to have a saucer underneath, so they're sitting in a saucer of water, not a deep saucer, but a nice shallow saucer, so they're sitting in a saucer of water, and also that can stop the water running all over your deck.
Yeah, perfect. All right, next one is from Pip. They have a hot rental that faces west and has 0 plants in the front yard apart from lawn. What trees grow fast?
So it's a hot bedroom.
Rental faces west and has 0, faces west. Hot rental.
Hot rental. Right, okay. Do you know, silver birch, if you keep the grass and weeds away from a silver birch. Say you bought right at this time, you bought a really nice, healthy, young silver birch that was 1 metre tall, and you wouldn't be paying very much money for it. You would expect to pay sort of around the $30 range for something like that. And if you watered it religiously through the summer, you need to buy a really, really good healthy one, but you water it religiously, you keep the grass and weeds away from the bottom, you put fertilizer on it every couple of weeks, just they love little bits of fertilizer regularly, they like lots and lots of water and no grass or weed competition. You could turn a 1 metre silver birch into a 3 metre silver birch in just 1 year, planting
Nice.
it right now. And what birches do is that they have a beautiful they let a little bit of sun through, but they have a lovely filtered kind of a shade, which I really enjoy the shade and coolness of a birch. And I mean, the only thing better than a birch is 2 birches. So, but basically, you can do. You don't want sort of an old kind of sad one in a nursery that's been sitting there for years and hasn't grown and a bit stunted. But birches, when they're young and vigorous, a young, healthy, vigorous birch has more go in it than almost any other tree. And I think it'd be quite easy to go from 1 to 3 metres this summer.
Nice, sounds pretty good. All right, next one is from the real Von Yvonne. Hardy plants for front garden, full sun.
Okay, so front garden, full sun, Mexican sage, lavender, Shasta daisy, any of your roses, and I mean they all go nicely with roses. Catmint, arenaria, beautiful fresh white flowers in early spring. Your Mexican sage, you can get it in a blue or a white, but that's a beautiful big bushy plant with beautiful flowers. And your French lavender is great. It's a little bit bigger. If you don't want it too big, you go maybe for a Munstead lavender. Shasta daisy is one of my favourite plants. Great big pure white, brilliant white flowers, abundant flowers. Any of your roses, I love something like, if you're doing that combo there, a bit of mauve or purple would be good. So something like a Charles de Gaulle, lovely fragrance and beautiful mauvey purple flowers. And then your African daisies. And I'm kind of in a purple mood. There's some lovely African daisies with purples and blues and things like that, and even ones with purple and white or blue and white flowers. I had a customer looking for blues, purples and whites yesterday, and she ended up mostly buying African daisies, and when I saw the range she got, I thought it was wonderful. So they're all really good hardy plants for a hot sunny front yard.
Perfect. All right, next one is I have an oyster plant in my garden that I'd like to remove. Best way to do this?
What sort of plant?
Oyster plant.
Oyster plant. Gee, they're hard to get rid of. They're what's great about oyster plants is they're easy to grow, easy to establish, but they're real hard to get rid of. I think what I would do is I would dig around it till I got all the roots, because they sucker. So you really need to sort of dig and rake and maybe fork a little and get all the roots and get all of it out and dig nice and deep. Because I've seen lots of people chop out their oyster plants only to have 20 or 30 new ones pop up. So lots and lots of digging involved. And because of the hard shiny leaf, it might be resistant to herbicide, but one way to do it would be to try spraying it with Roundup while it's nice and healthy before it goes dormant. Spray it with Roundup, leave it for 48 hours and then dig it up, and then that way you've got the poison right through it, and that could help with the suckers not returning.
Cool. All right, next one is any chance you could let me know best plants for pool areas, direct sunlight and like a bit of shade over pool or area. Also if it doesn't drop too many leaves, and it's a large area, 6 by 4 meters.
Right, okay. So it really depends a little bit where you are, but like for instance palm trees are good because they don't have lots of little leaves that they drop. If they do drop something, it'll fill half the pool, but basically most palms you cut the old dead leaves off, and so palms are great round pools because you cut off the dead leaves and they don't have little tiny leaves everywhere. And probably something like a magnolia, like an Exmouth or a teddy bear magnolia, nice big leaves, not too many leaves dropping, and things like giant birds of paradise give you that sort of giant birds of paradise, and palm trees give you that nice tropical cool kind of feeling, and they don't drop anything until you take them off. And also your your large growing cordylones, things like Pocahontas and things like that, they'll grow up a few metres tall, give you a bit of shade, and the dead leaves hang on them. So you pull them off when you want to, and you don't chuck them in the pool, you just chuck them in the rubbish. And so basically those bigger leaf plants like your bird of paradise, your cordyline and your palm tree don't drop their leaves, and you cut them off when you want to get rid of them.
Perfect. All right, next one is from Scotty. Best large indoor plant with morning sunlight.
Large indoor plant.
With morning sunlight.
Hard to get big ones, but we've grown a big one ourselves. We've got a Ficus benjamina, and I think it's been in our house for 10 or 11 years, and it's nearly up to the ceiling, and it's in there with morning light, sort of filtered through the curtain, and really good, hardy, reliable plant. Every so often I'll go past and see it looks just a little bit sad, and I'll give it a half a bucket of water, and away she goes. So that's a really good. And the problem is I don't see with the wholesalers, I don't see big ones of those, so you sort of have to grow it yourself. But if you wanted something immediate and hardy, a giant bird of paradise, incredibly versatile plant. You can grow it outside by the pool, you can grow it sort of under the alfresco area, or you can do it with just minimal morning light as an indoor plant, and you'll find that incredibly hardy. And big ones of those are quite cheap, and they give a very exotic sort of a feeling. So giant bird of paradise or Ficus benjamina would be two of my top picks for that job.
Yep, great. All right, pebbles or bark around plants in gardens. What is your preference and why?
Okay, so there's pros and cons, and I wouldn't say one was better than the other, but this is basically what's wrong with. Let's do what's wrong with pebbles first. What's wrong with pebbles is that they're expensive, they are hard work, like they're heavy and they're hard to transport and things like that. So I never really use them if I don't really want them. So and also they get if you do large expanses of pebbles and you've got lots of other plants there that are dropping leaves and rubbish and things like that, they can get dirty, get buried quite quickly, and so pebbles I tend to use in smaller areas, and sometimes I'll even do a small part of the garden in pebbles and do the greater part in mulch. So pebbles are always aware that expensive, hard, heavy work, which means that if you're paying someone to do the job, it's going to cost you more to lay them out, and they tend to get dirty and look bad when they're dirty. Mulch, on the other hand, when dead leaves and things drop on it, looks like mulch, and so unless it's like a black or a red mulch, it doesn't look too bad. So say for instance, I tend to love pine bark mulch. Now pine bark mulch, what's good about pine bark mulch is that it's cheap to buy, it's light and easy and quick to spread. When leaves and rubbish fall on it, it doesn't really look that badly out of place. And then the great thing, that's 3 or 4 things there, but then I haven't told you the really good thing. The really good thing about pine bark, most of your potting mixes are made from pine bark, and as that pine bark rots down and decomposes into the garden, it improves your soil. So pine bark is one of the best mulches because it really does hold in the moisture, it improves your soil over time, and it doesn't look bad when dead leaves and things fall on. So pine bark would be one of my favourite, but often if I had a little bed, and it's very important to pick some black or white or natural pebbles in a small area, look fabulous. And you know, I took some great photos the other day of lime lava, just in a little tiny garden bed with jet black pebbles all around it, and it looked, you know, the bright green and the black just looked fabulous together. So pebbles are great, but they have their limitations. I guess that's what I think.
Yeah, amazing. All right, next one is, I am thinking of growing a Spanish Queen olive tree in a big pot in front of my house. Do you think this is a bad idea?
No, olive trees are one of the best trees for growing in pots. Like my favourite trees are maples, but they need a bit more water than an olive. Ficus and olives. In my garden designs, I'll use olives very, very often because olives are very, very hardy, and they give off that lovely sort of blue-grey Mediterranean look. And you can grow things underneath them to make them look good. They love to be trimmed, so you can trim them into a ball on a stick. You can do multiple balls, which is called cloud pruning. Trim them into just a nice bushy tree. but basically they're trimmable, they're shapeable, they're easy to look after, they're really, really tough, and they're great. And a Spanish Queen is a good, it's a good, strong, vigorous, old-fashioned variety that'll have a little bit more strength and go in it than a lot of other olives.
Awesome. All right, next one is from KD. I have an established garden now. The bottom parts are empty because I shaped them on the top. What is the best shrub to plant underneath them, as I don't like empty space? Shrub can grow partial shade, maybe? Any ideas?
What type of plant were they?
I don't know. It just says the bottom, which I assume is bottom parts, are empty.
Okay, so
maybe if Katie wants to send in what plants are already there, and then we can...
Yeah, but I'll go through some great plants for putting underneath. So basically, when you're going in under a tree, you're probably dealing with a bit of shade. And some things that I really like are the tapuna rock lily. They grow about so high, beautiful white flowers on top of that, lovely sort of luscious foliage that looks really, really good in a modern garden. Another thing to fill up underneath is your Chinese star jasmine grown as a ground cover, and it makes a beautiful thick ground cover, 35-40 centimetres thick.
It's got lily pilly.
Lily pilly. Okay, so these would work. So tapuna rock lily, Chinese star jasmine, and then other things that I often use, and I'll often use them together, are your plum gorgeous loropetalum, which is beautiful purple foliage plant, pink flowers in springtime, and with a little bit of a snip can be kept 40-45 centimetres tall and grow a metre or more wide. And kaleidoscope will do the same sort of height and width with a bit of a snip, and give you beautiful golden foliage through spring and summer, going into oranges and reds in the autumn, and a bit of white, nice white flowers. So kaleidoscope, plum gorgeous, Chinese star jasmine, and tapuna rock lily. And you can use those in various different combinations with each other. You probably wouldn't use them all together, but you could use like plum gorgeous and tapuna together. You can use kaleidoscope and plum gorgeous together. Chinese star jasmine probably looks best on its own, just as a full cover. So they're all plants that would work well under lily pillies with a little bit of shade, which is what I'm expecting. But all of those, often when you're growing under a tree, one of the problems you'll have is on the west side it's real hot and sunny, and on the east or the south side it's real cold and shady. And some plants love the cold and shade, some plants love the hot sun. All of those ones that I've recommended there are great for going under trees, because they'll do the hot sunny side and the cool shady side without worry, and they'll look fairly similar on both sides.
Perfect. Next one is from Jason. Can I grow Dutch box, hedge and star jasmine in the same, very slim, garden bed, which is about 25 centimetres in depth?
It sounds like with Chinese star jasmine, it makes a nice thick cover, and you can cut the front of it and get the effect of a hedge. I reckon that you're being overly ambitious doing the Dutch box and the Chinese star jasmine together. I think it's one or the other.
Okay. Oh, cool.
And I was just thinking, what you could do is if you did the Dutch box at the back, you might look at doing something in the front, like your Dichondra repens. Like, so you could have a nice green low border. So your 25 centimetres is probably a little bit wider than what you need for just the Dutch box. So a little lovely green border of Dichondra repens could look nice in front. And Dichondra repens is much less aggressive than your Chinese star jasmine.
Cool. Okay, next one is from Kylie. Suggestion of hardy natives, nothing too tall, suitable for rocky clay soil in Bendigo, please, to mix in semi-established front garden of kangaroo paws and grasses. Okay,
kangaroo paws and grasses. One of the things that I learned about, I used to have a nursery in Bendigo, and one of the things that I learned about in Bendigo, and I've used extensively ever since, is myoporum. Now, and back during the drought, people in Bendigo were telling me, and they weren't allowed to water their gardens with the town water, they were telling me that the myoporum was, if they said it wasn't for myoporum, it'd be the only green we've got. And it is such a tough thing. Terrible soil, lack of water, and myoporum will thrive. And there's different sorts of myoporum. There's a fine leaf, there's the arena, which is sort of a coarse leaf, very, very flat one. So you've got these different types of myoporum, and for growing in amongst grasses and kangaroo paws, they're really, really great. And then I love the cousin it, which is a nice flat ground cover kind of a tree that grows with little bumps in it and a beautiful texture to it. And then another one that I really like is your cushion bush. Now your normal cushion bush grows too big and it'll sort of overgrow your grasses and your kangaroo paws. And there's a little one called a silver nugget, and the silver nugget gets brown sunburns and stuff on it, so it's not much good, I don't reckon. But there's one that's compact, which is sort of halfway between the silver nugget and the normal one. It's sort of like a nice tight silver ball, really, a little bit of size to it. And if you were doing, say you did myoporum, and say you did myoporum and that, and you were looking to throw another and cousin it. So you did myoporum and cousin it, and then you wanted to just put a bit of spice or a bit of excitement into it. I would use the compact cushion bush, and the other one that sort of works nicely with those sorts of plants is your yellow buttons, which again the normal yellow button's a bit gross, so I'd go for the compact yellow button. So if you had compact yellow buttons, compact cushion bush, cousin it, and then one of the prostrate urenas or myoporums, they would all be fabulous for you.
Cool. Brian also would like to say thank you for your help on the last live. I removed the tomato plant with blight. That's really good. We had a
terrific.
Thanks for letting us know about that, Brian. That's really awesome.
Great to hear that you could make use of some of my info.
Yeah, exactly. All right, next one is from Tara. I had a pineapple happily growing in water indoors. Now it's been transferred into soil. It's sad. It has yellow leaves, so I've stopped watering her and moved the mulch around the base. Do you recommend sugarcane mulch? I think that's kind of just all part of her comments. So kind of what can she do for a pineapple?
I reckon put it in a pot with some good quality potting mix, plenty of tucker, use something like Power Feed or something like that, so plenty of tucker, and put that in a nice hot, when you think about it, they grow pineapples sort of up on the Sunshine Coast, and what they love is sun and heat, beautiful, and it's beautiful loose porous soil up there. That's why I'm thinking a pot with lovely loose soil could be the answer, and then plenty of fertilizer, so fertilizer, water, and hot and lots of loose soil, so a nice potting mix.
And do you recommend sugarcane mulch?
Not really.
Okay.
No.
Cool. Next one is best ideas for trying to get a low maintenance front yard.
I reckon you should go look at my Essence of Turak video.
It's on YouTube. So if you search up Turak Garden on our YouTube channel, you'll find a playlist that is collection of all those videos.
Yeah, and what it is that I guess let's how do we put it nicely? The people in Turak are often very, very well off, but what's interesting is that they but the cost of getting a gardener in Turak is probably twice the price of any other suburb in Melbourne. It's very expensive to get gardeners down there, and the gardens that they do look like $1 million gardens. They're fabulous, but there's a simplicity to them that makes them fairly cheap to plant and fairly cheap to look after. So and you got that $1 million look. It's a fabulous thing, and if you were to look at that, you'll see what I'm talking about. Things like clumps of silver birches, clumps of Japanese maples, big areas of Chinese star jasmine, which are quite a cheap plant. And once these styles of gardens are all planted up and they just need a bit of grooming, not much weeding or anything like that. And that's what I went down there and I did some videos, because Turak has quite a different style to the rest of Melbourne. And when I looked at it and thought about it, I thought, well, these gardens look fabulous. But what's interesting is that they are gardens that are not overly expensive to establish and they're not overly expensive to maintain. So go to my, and we're talking Chinese star jasmine, we're talking silver birch, we're talking orange jessamine, we're talking weeping lily pillies, all simple, straightforward stuff, mass planted, groomed a little but not too much, and economical to plant and economical to keep. So have a look at my Essence of Turak video and I'm sure you'll see the answers.
Perfect. All right, next one. We're going to circle back to the question about the olive tree in the pot, if you remember that one.
Sure.
Just some follow-up questions. How big a planter should I get for the olive tree? and I am worried, what if it grows out of the pot too soon? Then it won't be easy job to change pots, or how long do you think it can stay in the same pot?
Okay, so that staying in the same pot is all dependent on how big a pot you put it in and what pot you're coming out of. But say, and also if you get a pot, like one thing is that if say you get a pot that comes up and then tapers in at the top, they look really good, those pots, but the problem is that the only way to get if an olive stays in there for a couple of years, the only way you're going to get it out is with a sledgehammer and the pot's gone. So what you need is a pot that goes like this all the way, and there's no inward bit on the top that's going to catch it when it comes out. And that means that and whatever pot you get, one day you're going to need a bigger pot, or you're going to take the olive and put it in the garden or something like that. And so, say for instance you bought a 12-inch pot olive, which is going to be, at the moment we've got 12-inch pots here for around the $100 mark, and they're about 1.5 meters tall. And if you pick it carefully, you get quite a nice shape and quite a bushy one around that $100 mark. And say you bought one around there, what you want is a 40 to 50 centimeter pot at a minimum to put that in. And if you put in a 60 centimeter pot, you're going to get a bit longer. But if you put in an 80 or 90 or meter wide pot, it's going to look silly. So I reckon you want a pot that's shaped like that, and say you start off with and we often for like really special spots and that, we do a 20-inch pot olive to go into a pot. At a 20-inch pot, you would put that into a 24 to 30-inch pot. If you bought a 20-inch pot one, and a 20-inch pot, I think you're spending around the $400 mark, and you're getting quite an old, bushy, established tree. And one thing that I think would be interesting about growing an olive in a tree, like olive in a pot, olives love to be trimmed, and if you were to cloud prune it or shape it over time, you could turn into a very, very interesting shape, and it could become like an amazing, like sculpture or something. If you Google cloud pruned olives and have a look at what's available, you'll be amazed at the beautiful shapes and that you can get out of them. And a good cloud pruned olive is worth several $1,000s. And so while you've got one in a pot, think about shaping it into one of those beautiful multi-thousand things. I mean, multi-$1,000 olive trees. And then just take your pot up 2 or 3 sizes from what you buy, and then imagine in another few years you'll be going up another couple of sizes again. And ultimately the pot might become the central feature in your front or backyard or something and if you cloud prune it, you'll be really pleased you did, because you'll have something worth thousands of dollars to buy just sitting in the garden. So that's my thoughts on potting up an olive.
Yeah. Would an elderflower do better in full sun or part shade?
Full sun.
Okay. What can you do about shale in the ground?
Shale, it depends how shaly it is. Like if it's shale with soil mixture, it's really good for growing stuff in. Shale with no soil in it's real bad. And what you do is you break up your shale and add soil to it, and so basically just get soil through your shale and get good soil through your shale. So if you've got good soil, mix it through your shale, you'll be able to grow almost anything in it. And shale, like solid clay is terrible because it's got poor drainage. Shale's got really good drainage, and it's just a matter of having the right mix of soil through it.
Yeah. What would be a good ground cover that spreads well? Large area on the side of a hill in Bundaberg.
Large area on the side of a hill in Bundaberg. Carpogrotus. I think that would be something very, very economical to do, and it would cover a large area, give you nice sort of flowers in the winter. I think that'd be excellent.
Cool. Can any of the maple trees survive in a pot and afternoon sun?
Yes. I wouldn't, in hot afternoon sun, I wouldn't use just any Japanese maple, but I found a Naba Shidari, which is a beautiful fine, that's what I've got hanging above me just here, if you can see that. You're a Naba Shidari, beautiful dark leaf, and we have them, we grow them here I have lots of them here, and if they don't sell, I just keep potting them into bigger and bigger pots, and we grow them to quite large sizes, and they take heaps and heaps of hot afternoon sun in the summer. And but often when I'm doing a garden design and we've got hot sun, I'll use the plain Japanese maple, which is your ungrafted one, which you get a big one quite economically, and I'll use the plain maple for planting out in the sun.
Yep. Can I buy lady beetles?
Lady beetles. I've bought bottles of lady beetles in America, but I've never seen them for sale here in Australia. And I would love to be selling lady beetles. If anybody knows of anybody producing commercial lady beetles, let me know. Lady beetles are great because in America they're readily available in your nursery, in your corner nursery, and you get them in springtime and let them go in your garden, and they ravish all of these small bugs. Small bugs that might be eating and destroying other things. So, and I've always felt that lady beetles are good luck. So when you get those little buckets like they have in America with thousands of lady beetles in it, that means lots and lots of good luck.
Yeah, amazing. What can grow under a very large pine tree in full shade, please?
Okay, that's a really, really tough thing. And in the bush you'll find things like holly will grow on. Not much. What you'll notice, you walk under a pine forest and not much will grow there, but holly will grow there. Now there's different ornamental hollies, and you could use that. And then another one that I've seen that does really well there is wormwood, and the wormwood Powis Castle is quite low and nice. And then you could probably grow Canary Island ivy. So Canary Island ivy, wormwood Powis Castle, and any of your sort of English hollies, and you can get nice ornamental English hollies rather than just the ones that grow wild. So they're all plants that would grow, and it's hard to grow things under a pine tree, so you'll note that I've given you a very narrow range, and that's sort of how it is.
Yep. All right, best thing to keep dog out of my garden.
Dog out of the garden. An excited dog running through the garden is hard to stop. Like it's kind of like
a runaway train.
Yeah, I think you really need to look at a fence. We've got dogs, and when my partner wants to exclude them from an area, it's always a little bit of, and she makes temporary wire fences, and so a wire netting fence. You don't need any barbed wire to keep the dog out. A wire netting fence, and it doesn't have to be, we do sort of just temporary cheap little ones, that can really help. So and you can exclude the dog. We had a problem where we had two dogs for a while, and they bald, made the area of the lawn bald from digging and running around and that. And what we did is we just made temporary fences on sections of it, just one sort of lot of wire netting, not terribly tall. And it was very easy to keep the dog off, really.
Cool. Next one is, I inherited a staghorn and I wanted to know how to look after it. It looks a bit scrappy at the moment.
Right, okay. So fertilizer, and what people do is, I wonder if you've got it tied to a backing. And what people do is they tie them to a backing, and they put tea leaves and banana skins down the back and let it rot in the back of it, and it does real good.
Awesome. What kind of creeper roses can you grow next to vegetables like tomatoes?
Really, you could grow any creeper rose that you wanted, and I imagine what you're wanting to do is cover a wall or a fence or something like that. And one of my favourites is crepuscule. Crepuscule has very few thorns, beautiful yellowy pinky flowers, and it's almost evergreen and almost flowers all year round. But it flowers a lot more in spring and summer than it does in the winter, but still very, very long flowering, and that would be great to grow near your veggies.
Yep. The tops of my dichondra repens have been burnt in the sun. Should I chop the burnt off leaves?
I don't know if it is burnt off in the sun. There can be a little bit of a fungal problem that you can get, and yes, what you could do is you could fertilise them and then chop them and get a whole fresh crop of foliage on them, and that's what we do in the nursery when we have problems with them.
Yeah. I have a narrow garden bed at the back of our townhouse, measured 7 meters in length and 1 meter in width. Best screen opt? Yeah, best screen option, I assume.
So 7 meters by
1 meter.
1 meter. Okay, so I'll give you two of my favourites. First one would be weeping lily pilly. Now I love weeping lily pilly because it doesn't have a bad root system. It's not worried by too many bugs. It can get the little bumps in it called psyllids, but once it's established, little birds move in and eat those psyllids. So it's not a long-term problem with that one. And there's a few beetles around eating some of the lily pillies, and it doesn't touch the weeping lily pilly. So weeping lily pillies are great. If you absolutely drown them once a week, put Osmocote on them every couple of months, and give them a few little waters through the week and one big drowning once a week, they can grow well over 1 metre a year. I've seen them grow up to 1.5 metres in a year. So really fast and good to get up now. But say what weeping lily pillies love is they love sunshine. So say you're on the shady side of the fence and it's a bit shady, or there's houses or something around, it's a bit shady. So my next favourite one would be a sweet viburnum. So sweet viburnum, even if it's quite deep shade, sweet viburnum grows very, very quickly. It wants lots of water, lots of fertiliser, but grows really, really quickly in the shade. And say you've got an area that's shady at this end and sunny at the other end, your sweet viburnum is the best choice, because something like a weeping lily pilly is going to flourish in the hot sun and sort of be a bit sort of scungy and slow and a bit see-through and a bit not so good in the shade. So I would go weeping lily pilly.
Yeah. What is best to make soil healthy again before planting out a garden bed? Ground is very dry and not much body to it.
Right, okay, so it's everybody should have a compost heap. And if you do the compost heap in one of them plastic containers that doesn't breathe, you tend to get horrible stuff. So you don't want that. So a compost heap, like when I was a kid, our compost heaps were not in anything; they were just a pile, and that gave you good oxygen flow. And what you do is you do a layer of compost, a layer of all fresh goods to be composted, a layer of sort of nice soil or compost on top of that, then another layer. Do it up in layers. Throw a bit of lime on each layer as you cover it up, and then. My parents had 5 acres of garden, and they basically fertilised that whole garden with a compost heap. All the rubbish from the whole garden went onto this compost heap, mixed up and stacked and everything like that. And that has an incredible long-term soil improving ability. But say you haven't got a compost heap, which is how most people are, and you're not planning to get one for a while, which most people should be planning to get a compost heap. I think it would do great things for our planet if everybody had a compost heap. But say you don't have a compost heap, get some good quality potting mix and mix it through. And if you can't wet it easily, get some soil wetter, and that helps the water go in and stay in. So soil wetter really helps with dry soil. Don't use it unless you need it, because it is a bit of a very slight pollutant, but it's still a slight pollutant. Very best long-term solution to dry, poor soil is compost, and because basically compost is a living thing, and you're putting life back into the soil, and that life helps plants to grow. They sort of interact with that life in the soil. So compost, best long-term solution. Good quality potting mix mixed through the soil, best short-term solution. And soil wetter, best emergency solution.
Yeah. Can I use crushed rock over septic pipes, or do I need grass?
Grass is good, because grass is going to suck up water. You could get in trouble. I'd be nervous about gravel, because gravel in the winter, it's not going to use any moisture, and the moisture could build up and it could become smelly and rotten there. So what my dad got me, we had a reasonable sized family, so fairly big sewage output, and we had a lot of moisture going out into the middle of the back lawn, and my dad got me to put bamboo all around it. But that's and then when I've been doing garden designs for people, and we're dealing with a big outflow of that sort of water, I've tended to use grasses, and grasses tend to use water all year round, and the bigger the grass, the more water it uses. So bamboo is a type of grass, but there's lots of other nice big grasses that can even like, and some of them look really, really nice. And I was thinking that something like your feather reed grass is about a 6-foot grass. So you could use quite big grasses and really use up lots of that moisture. And I tend to stay away from gravel.
Cool. So I just want to say we only have about 5 minutes left of today's live. But like I mentioned at the start, we do it every week, same time, same platforms. So if we didn't get to your question today, please come down to the next live. Try and get in early, because that's how you will know your question will definitely be answered, because I just do it in order. Like, I just read the questions in order as they come up. And yeah, so I think we'll see how many questions we can get through depending on how quick the answers are. There are 2 questions both about Hyro Rangers from different people, so I'm just going to ask it both at the same time.
Yep.
Basically, can I grow Hyro Rangers in a pot indoors, and do Hyro Rangers like being in pots?
Hyro Rangers love pot life, and like I said before, if you've got them outside in the wind and the sun and everything like that, grow them with a saucer of a shallow saucer that you keep full of water underneath them, and that will help them stay nicely hydrated all the time, because they can feed out for that. And the answer to Hyro Rangers indoors, say I wanted to have Hyro Rangers indoors, Hyro Rangers indoors in a pot would be absolutely wonderful. And what I would do is I'd buy 2 or 3 of them, possibly 3, and I would put them in pots, and I would bring them in one at a time and keep them inside for only a week or so, a week to 10 days, and then rotate it with the other ones. And then you could have in your lounge room or in your kitchen, you could have a beautiful big hydrangeas covered in flowers, looking absolutely, and we're starting to get some nice flowering hydrangeas in the nursery now, and some quite advanced ones too. So you could do that with quite a nice big hydrangea, and rotate it every 10 days or so, and then put it outside in the shade, keep it watered, keep it fertilized, and you could have beautiful hydrangeas in flower in the house for months. But I reckon it's got to be done on a rotation and not just straight, or you find it'll go into a decline.
Yeah. At what stage of building do I come in for a garden design? And if you guys don't know, we offer a free garden design here. They are amazing. You should definitely book in one.
Okay, I think that even the person who knows what they want, like very often, I think that one good idea can make coming in for a garden design worthwhile, and very often in the first 30 seconds I'll come up with an idea that people say, gee, I didn't think of that, and it kind of makes the whole garden design worthwhile. So I think that everybody should come in for a garden design. Not that I could cope with everybody, but everybody should, because even though you might know what you want, you know which plant, you know this, you know that, like a lady before, she had a drainage problem, and the only solution they could think of was a very expensive solution. I was able to show a really, really cheap solution for that drainage problem, and I think that solution for that drainage problem, if I had have said, right, that's it, we're finished, I reckon she would have made the whole trip worthwhile just for that solution. Like, it was a solution that cost her $50 and fix a drainage problem in the front yard. So and with that I look at it from a very holistic point of view, and I dealt with that drainage problem. So I think that everybody should do it, and they should do it before they plant their garden. But say with a new build, the very, very best time to see me is before you do your concrete, because like the garden design that I did this morning before the one that I was just talking about, they hadn't done their concrete, and that's great, because we came up with one idea that involved a big hole in the concrete, which they're not going to have to cut that hole, because and the thing is that if they had have done their concreting, they wouldn't have done what I needed and wanted for this design, and they would have either had to spend hundreds of dollars cutting a hole, but now they just can make the hole and it'll cost them nothing really, and they can have exactly the feature that they want in a certain spot. So I think before you do the concrete is a really, really good time to come and get a garden design. But really, like any time is better than not doing it. That's really what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Ronnie has a goodbye neighbour that has grown tall and lanky. Can you chop the tops off to fill them out?
Yes, but I reckon we're getting past the optimum time for doing it. I reckon that between the 20th and 30th of September is a great time to cut it back. What you could do is you could water and fertilise it and strengthen it and get it ready for the big chop, and then 20th to 30th of September, cut it really, really hard, and that's just when your warm nights start and things start to grow, so it doesn't have to be without foliage or without branches for a long time, and you can cut them really, really hard. You can cut them back to 1 metre or 1.5 metres. I had about a 3 metre tall neighbours begotten hedge beside the house that had gone all sparse and see-through at the bottom, and I could see the fence wasn't doing its job anymore, and I did it right at that right time and cut it just over 1 metre high. And you know that within about 3 months it was back to its old self, but bushy all the way from the ground up. So it was completely revitalised. I only had a couple of months without a nice tall hedge.
Amazing. Well, that takes us to the end of our today's live, but like I said, we're going to be here again next Monday. So if we didn't get to your question, please come next week. If it is anything urgent or you can't make it, of course you're free to call us, email us, visit in store, anything like that, to also come get some help. But I hope everyone has a lovely rest of their Monday, and we'd really appreciate it if you could share about our live. We want to help as many people as we can. We want to reach as many people as we can. So yeah, tell your loved ones, tell anyone who's into gardening, and we will hopefully see you next week.
Thank you, bye.
In the morning sun, where the flowers bloom, colors burst like a painter's dream come true. Roses red and violets blue, every petal whispers something new. From tiny seeds to trees so grand, every leaf and bird, it's all at hand. Hello, hello, to the show, where every flower tells a story. Watch them grow. Hello, hello, plant, in every shade and hue, for every heart and every hand, we've got something for you. Indoor greens and outdoor scenes, design your space, let your garden dreams glide. Personal touch with our garden design, free sessions to blend within your budget line. From tiny seeds to trees so grand, every leaf and bird, it's all at hand. Hello, hello, plant, welcome to the show, where every flower tells a story. Watch them grow. Hello, hello, plant, in every shade and hue, for every heart and every hand, we've got something for you. Now everybody, let's say hello, 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 hello.